Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. My information is on the front page. I know all of you. LaDonna is my intern at Reed Park, and I've seen Tanea here, so I feel like I know you all, and all the rest of you have been here with me. As I just said, Lorraine did not get out of the hospital today. Something went wrong again, and so we're doing another CAT scan this afternoon, so I didn't get to go visit her, but I did talk to her on the phone in about an hour. And so hopefully I'll get to go see her tomorrow if she doesn't get to get out. This is related to the surgery she had back in the fall. So, but hopefully she sounded, she sounds strong, but worried, but that's kind of an update on her. So I'm going to make sure I'll upload tonight's video and send her the link. Okay, so there's my information. You know to call or email me anytime. All right. Does anybody have any evidence, artifacts, components that they've not done? Other than, all right. So what you two will do is I will give you time every time we get together, but y'all will peer review one another's. And you will send them to me for peer review. The folks who are finished, I won't have them go back and do reviews. So you two will send to one another and send to me, and we will become a 3-person team. That'll expedite the process. And we won't bother to try to do Zoom peer reviews or any of that unless y'all want to. We can do our reviews here in class every week, face to face, and that will expedite the process too. We can do them by email. Just email when you get a component ready, email it to me and to your partner, and we'll try to do it by email, and then we'll finalize it. If we have to get together that week, we will. But I want to expedite this and go as fast as we can. Today you're under the old handbook, so you have a copy of my notes, Dale's notes, and do you have the templates to put the final documents in? Good. So you got the stuff. So you're ready to roll. So you're ready to go on that. So we won't worry about trying to set up Zoom peer review groups or any of that. The rest of you are finished, and the two that aren't, we'll do it live. And that'll save everybody time, and we'll go faster that way. All right. So discussion board, let me mention that while it's on my mind. You'll notice under discussion board that there are 2 discussion boards each week. You should have enough time in class to do those. You don't have to do but one of the 2 each week. You get to pick which one you want to do. Let me show you that right quick. Let me go to discussion board.
I looked at it and started getting nervous.
Yeah, I know. You started. So look at the discussion boards and look at the weekly class schedule, and it tells you what your choices are that week. So for the first week, you get to choose between 1 and 2, and you get to choose between 3 and 4 the second week, and so on and so forth. Now the trick is make sure you see what the number is on the actual discussion board. You know how it scrambles them from time to time, and they aren't in order. So for the first week, you get to choose between discussion board 1 and 2. But the problem with that is sometimes these get out of order. Right now, it looks like they're still in order. 8, 9, 10, looks like 11, 12. But see right here, well, I can't make that go to the bottom where it's supposed to be. Every time I move it, the next time I crank it up, it's moved right back there. So pay attention to the numbers on the discussion boards because they'll scramble again. And remember that the last one, okay, next page. Remember there's 2 pages of them. And you wouldn't believe the number of emails that I've gotten from students that say, I can't see number 25. Well, it's on the second page. So right now they're in order, but there's some stuff kind of mixed in between them. But now number 27, the last one, that's the only one that week it's required because it's on that whole book, the Conchi and Rath Strength Finder book. So make sure, but other than that, each week, the first 13 weeks, you have one. If you want to do them before you get here, that's up to you. I'm going to give you time in class to do those. So if you have questions to do about those, I'll give you time in class to finish your evidence artifacts, your competencies, and your discussion boards. We'll have time to do that each week. So please remember, on discussion board, you have a choice each week of which ones you do. Go back to weekly schedule and just look at the weekly schedule. Let me share. So you can see each week I have the topic, the reading, in the two main textbooks, the Hershey book and the Glickman book. I have that every week. I have the topics, I have the discussion boards, and I have a reminder on your evidence work. And I have that for the entire semester. So you can be as self-directed as you need to be. If you want to do these things and then just come and stay for my input every week and then go, that's up to you. If you want to stay longer and work here in class, I'll be here the 4 hours. That's up to you. That's kind of the way we work. 605 is you're supposed to have become self-directed over this time and do what you want to do. You'll notice that I have an assistant principal interview on the discussion board for 1 week. There is a protocol that I would like for you to follow in that interview. It's found under syllabus right here. And it says, administrative interview protocol. And if we open that up, it has the questions that I want you to ask. Right there. Now you say, but Dale, you just said we were supposed to be self-directed. But I don't want you going in and, if you want to use this as a template and maybe modify these or ask some questions you'd like to know, that's fine with me. But this is the kind of things that we want you to know from them. Pick one of your APs, because that's the job you're preparing for. Nobody gets the battlefield promotion. Nobody gets to be principal next week. You have to be AP first. And that's the job that you are preparing for, and it would be best. Now, try to go to one of your APs that you think might tell you the truth and won't, steer you down the garden path here. You don't want to do that, Alice, and fall into the rabbit hole. So make sure that you find one that you feel like would tell you the truth. So when it comes time for the assistant principal interview, go to syllabus and pull down the standard administrative protocol from Gardner-Webb. And then you can modify this, or you could, maybe take some of the questions out or add a couple of your own, but kind of use this as your guide. And that, again, when we get to that week's discussion board. Okay. All right. Okay, your enrollment verification is for you to sign that, and I'll do Lorraine's. I talked to her on the phone today. So we don't have a enrollment verification activity like you would have if you were in an online course, but signing that paper means that you're here right now, so we're good to go. Jason, if you're listening, I will need to put an enrollment verification on the screen for you. I will do that later tonight, so you can do an enrollment verification. Let me see. I might can do that now. No, I'll do that later. I've got to go to another screen to do that. So Jason, if you're listening, I will do an enrollment verification for you separately later tonight. All right, let's see. We've covered the weekly schedule, the syllabus. Has all the text, what you need to do in terms of evidence artifacts, which is 6E and means 5E and 6F. All the other things that you know about. It has the peer review form. Jason, you won't need that either. I think you're done. I know you're through with your competencies. If I'm wrong on that, Jason, get in touch with me if you haven't completed your DRF portfolio. I believe you have. All right, so there's the syllabus. Okay, Zoom share. All right. Back to the desktop. All right. Intern materials, you know, if you need these, I have the Mels handbook, the packet, the list of activities, suggested activities, and the timeline there. All right. Task stream tools. You can do it. Come on, there you go. I've got examples of completed ones. I've got old sets of Dale's notes if you're a legacy student, how to write your summary and descriptors. You know that when you do a final submission of an evidence artifact, you have to submit a summary and descriptors. I have how to write those here. And what a set of accomplished ones look like. I have a quick reference guide to review your final submission, so you'll know that everything is in there that is supposed to be in there. So if we can, let's look in task stream. So that you know this is what your work page looks like. And of course, yours says component A, B, C, D, and E. This is an older one. But when you click on that final one to put in that final evidence narrative that has all components in it, when you click on that, this thing will come on. It's got a button that says complete form, and that's where you put your summary and descriptors in. You have to write a summary for each of the 6 evidences, and then you have to put in what you wrote for descriptors in your paper. They have to go in right there. Now that's only the final box for each of the 6. That one, that one. You don't do that for any of your components. Remember, yours says components, A, B, C, D, and E. But when you get to this final one right here, it's going to have, it says complete form. And you have to go in there, and it looks like this. It has 3 boxes for a summary. It has all this explanation. It has 3 boxes for a summary, and then it has all your descriptors. Now, if you didn't write your descriptors as you went and put them in your individual components in your paper, you can write them now. So what does that look like? Let me go back to the desktop. Okay, let me go back to task stream tools. Writing summaries and descriptors, what does that look like? All right. Writing a task stream summary and submitting comprehensive final evidence narratives and artifacts for each of the 6 evidence artifacts, you'll be asked to complete form, that button I just showed you. You'll then be asked to write a 3-part summary of the entire evidence artifact: reflection, impact, and evaluation. So all you have to do is answer the specific questions that I have for you here about that evidence artifact, divide into 3. Don't worry about trying to hit these particular parts. Just answer the questions that I have for each of these, 1 paragraph each, split it into 3 and stick the thirds into these 3 boxes. Just do a copy and paste. Then when you get all of those done, you'll need to do your descriptors. You should write 5 sentences for a descriptor. Here are the 5 things that we want to know in a descriptor. Like 1B1 works with others, that's setting up your PLC. So the first thing we want to know is content. I set up a math PLC. Second, how'd you do it? I got all the math teachers. Third, what happened as a result? We did algebra 1A and 1B rather than just doing algebra 1. Outcome, we did get it implemented. It was a huge success. Students did a lot better spreading the material over 2 semesters rather than 1. Evaluation, reflection. Evaluation didn't cost us anything more to do it that way. In terms of staff development, you just changed the pacing guide. It was worthwhile. We'll continue to do that. That's just 5 sentences for each of your descriptors if you haven't been writing those as you go. Now, if you don't know what they're asking you in a particular descriptor, in this same place, CG, I'm in class. I'll have to call you back. Thanks. My doctoral students. All right. So, in that same place under Task Stream Tools, I have this document that's accomplished summaries and descriptors. Yours don't have to be as lengthy as Carol's were, but they'll tell you what they're asking you. If you can't interpret the question, all right, so let's look at hers. Brief reflection, impact, evaluation of the evidence. She answered the questions in a 1 paragraph each for the questions. Now, that's 5 sentences. It looks like more than that, but that's 5 sentences. She just writes long. So 1B1 worked with others, new way to improve achievement. I created a math PLC in my department, Common Core Standards for Math. These strategies will be addressed, and she gave us 5 sentences on what she did. So if you're not sure what they're asking you in any particular descriptor or what you did to meet that, if you'll read these and you'll go, oh, no, I did that too. You might not have done it in math, but you did that. And so there is a complete set of summary and descriptors for you to use as a guide when you write your summary and descriptors. So I have a document that tells you how, and this one shows you how it should look and what answer any questions that you have. And those are again under Task Stream Tools. You should be able to do those. Now, we can do that. I can work with you with those in class if you need me to. And once we get done with my input every week, I'll be glad to work with you on that to make sure that you've got it. All right. Again, discussion board. You pick the one you want. There's 2 weeks that you have one that is picked for you. The last week, which is the Conchi book, and then 1 week along the way that has the assistant principal interview. Let me go back to that. We'll see what it's on our schedule, and it's right here. It's about the 5th week, I guess, something like that. But schedule an interview with an assistant principal to use the protocol, which can be found on the syllabus for your review. Post a response with significant highlights from your interview. What did you learn? What was surprising to you? Please respond to one other post. Read somebody else's and see what they had to say. And you can just respond, I liked it. You don't have to write a synopsis of it, but just I want to know that you read somebody else's to see what their AP had to say. Now, also in discussion board, I have, again, it's out of place here, the CAP final for peer review. If you have not already done that, if you've already done it, just drop it in there, or just and just write me a note that it's already been submitted into Task Stream. So, but if it's not been, drop it in there, and you can email it to me, or you can drop it in here for review. Either one. Email will probably go faster, but you can drop it in here. So make sure that you drop your CAP final in for peer review, your SciOp final, and your 2 components that you're required to do this semester. If they've already been done, already been graded in Task Stream, that's great. Just drop them in and I'll give you your grade. If they've not, drop them in there and we'll work on them. So that's the only things that are due in the assignment Dropbox the whole semester are the last 2 components and the last 2 full evidence artifacts once they're done. Now, I've got them in 2 places here. Again, that's what I said. I put them at the end. They keep jumping back in the middle. I'm going to try to take the ones in the middle out. I'll see how that goes. It'll probably take them both out, and I'll have to put them both back in. But we'll see how that goes. TaskStream doesn't always do exactly what you want, or Blackboard doesn't do exactly what you want. So that's assignment Dropbox. And of course, for each week, like today, I have all the materials that I'm going to cover. You have here are the things that I'm going to cover tonight. So each week I have what I'm going to do input-wise. I've tried to time it out at about an hour. It may go longer than that. And then you'll be free to work on whatever you need to work on, whether it be competencies or evidence artifacts, summaries, descriptors, whatever you need to be working on, you can do that. And after that part of it. So I have this. Now, for each of the weeks. You saw the class schedule of when we're going to have our I'm going to have to go back to that, looks like. Let's look at the weekly schedule again for our break times. Put us on break the same time CMS has spring break. Of course, if you don't work in CMS, that's just, Lorraine doesn't, but hopefully hers will be the same time as ours here in CMS. But I always do that regardless of when spring break is on the Charlotte campus. Spring break, on the main campus. Spring break on the main campus is for graduate students is just Monday and Tuesday anyway. But we will take that week. So let's look at that quickly here. All right, so we go week 1, 25, February 1st, February 8th. Again, week 5, as I said, is your AP interviews required. Okay, March 1st, that week is our spring break. There'll be no class that week. And then Easter break is April 12th. I think the March 1 corresponds with the end of the semester work days or something, maybe. If it doesn't, I tried to hit it around that time. And this one corresponds with the week out for school that you get off for Easter, the 12th. And then we just finish right up. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, so I will make you come to class that day. You get that week off. All right, now at week 15, there is an optional form that I always collect from my 605. This is for me. It can be anonymous, or you can write your name on it. You can just tell me if you want to. It's kind of a little feedback, final reflection that helps with quality control in the program. So I have it. I think it can be found under syllabus, and it looks like this. You can put your name if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Students should respond right to mail them to me. Just reflect how you feel about the goal you set for yourself. How do you feel you've grown? Just some questions that I have. You'll probably tell me these things along the way, but I collect this stuff and try to do better as I go. All right, so go back up. That's the weekly schedule. All right. Questions? It makes sense? Fairly easy to follow. You know what your responsibilities are this semester. Everything's good. All right. So where to next? Anything before I start my input tonight? It's 5:30. I'm right on time. Anything before I start that? All right, let's move right into the material for the evening. All right, so what have I got here? New share. So for those of you who are listening on the or watching audio, the 30-minute overview is done, and I'm going to class content. If you want to stick around, that'd be great. I'll continue. I'll record it as well. All right, so let's see. All right, history of leadership. Leadership theory has gone through all kinds of twists and turns over the years. We initially started out, when we first started talking about history, as traits theory. Why would I be a great leader under traits theory? I read the first 3 bells under traits theory of great leaders. Why is that? I'm white, I'm a man, I'm tall. That's how stupid it was. Seriously, that's how stupid traits leadership theory is. Could be a leader if you're a woman, short women especially. And if you were non-white, you couldn't be a leader. That's how ridiculous traits theory is. Problem is, there's still a lot of people who believe that. Yeah, it's been our job in this Master of Educational Leadership program to convince you and give you the skills for you to convince others that traits leadership is something from a previous century. But there is a lot of, and I'm beginning to see more of that stuff come back. There is a lot of that old school stuff, traits leadership theory, that you were born with certain traits and that you can't change that and you can't learn from that. But that's where it started, which led us to the great man theory. There were great men. And then it wasn't just be a tall white man, there were certain tall white men. Again, that's very old school stuff, but there's a lot of stuff out there. And then we finally had somebody who came along in the 40s, thank goodness, who said no, that there were leadership styles and they could be learned. Have y'all done Lewin's, that little thing from Psychology Today where you figure out your own leadership style? Have you done that one? Do I have that on tonight? I think I have that on later. I have it on another week. We're going to do that. We won't have time to do that tonight.
Yeah, we need a the first.
The very first class you should have done in 601.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it with you again in 605, and you can compare where you were then to where you are now. I'll do that at one of our sessions later in the semester. We'll sit down and take that little leadership style inventory from Kurt Lewin. And I'm also, that week, we'll do the VARC, but we'll also do a little questionnaire on transformation. Have you learned to move from transactional leadership through the course of this program? Transactional leadership is punishment, reward, positional power kind of thing. If I give you something, you'll follow me and do what I say, or you follow me because I have the title. That's transaction. That's transactional leadership. Traditional power roles, transformational leadership is you motivate people to follow you by working along with them. And I have an inventory on that to see, most everybody when they start the program they understand transactional leadership, subordinate, superordinate roles. But hopefully you will now understand transformational leadership. But we'll do this one. Then we went to Redden, R-E-D-D-I-N, Redden, and all the contingency stuff. That was out of Ohio State in the 60s, which said the style depends on the situation. And so that's when Hershey and Blanchard said, oh, we'll come up in the 70s with something new called situational leadership. And we're still kind of in situational leadership. That's a leadership theory. Transformational leadership is how you put that into practice. So people think that transformational leadership is in competition or conflict with leadership style. It is not. It's how you put situational leadership into practice. How you practice it is transformational or not. Situational leadership is combinations of task and relationship behavior. What's a task behavior? I need you to do this now. What's a relationship behavior? I care about you. I want to hear about your day or what your concerns are. combination of those two. That's what leaders do. They use in combination task and relationship behaviors to get done the work of the organization. Now, a lot of that has to do with maturity or readiness. What is maturity or readiness? Today and I were talking about the problem with Teach for America kids. And part of that, the biggest stumbling block is they don't have any maturity and they don't have any job readiness. They just came out of college, they weren't prepared. That's the readiness part. They don't have any skills. They didn't take any courses, they didn't do any practice teaching or practicums or student teaching. They didn't do any of that stuff. So they're not very ready to teach school. But part of the problem too is a maturity issue with those folks coming out of college. It's not just readiness, they don't have any skills, but they don't have any maturity, which means they don't have job skills. They don't show up on time. They don't show up sober and clean clothes. They show up with 15 bar stamps from the bar stroll the night before. They're living an extended college life. That factors into task and relationship behaviors. You pretty much have to give them task behaviors, even though they aren't ready for them, because they don't give them to themselves. They aren't adult enough, they aren't mature enough. They don't have the self-discipline to do it themselves. And so, yes, you have to do relationships and kind of be their parent for a while, but you pretty much have to tell them what to do and when to do it, unfortunately. That's what we were talking about. We know that they aren't effective for the first four, hopefully by the end of the fourth year, they're becoming full-fledged faculty members, but they really aren't until about then. I've told you the story. The only one that I ever hired that was good out of the box was Stephanie Show. What's Stephanie doing now? She's principal at one of the elementary schools, I think. She was director of gifted and talented or whatever. She's the only beginner I ever hired that was good day one. The only one I've hired hundreds. She was the only one I ever hired that was ready to go the first day.
Do you hire for having a body or do you hire?
I'd rather have nobody than have somebody that's not good. We'll cover them, we'll put them in the auditorium and cover them in the sub. AP rather than having somebody that. And that's what Collins speaks to. That's the PowerPoint that I have tonight. And I won't get into very much of it looking at the time, but the PowerPoint I have tonight is Collins is good to great in the social sector. And that's one of the things that Collins talks about all the time is getting the right people on the bus. Now, getting them in the right seat once you get them on the bus, that's important too. But don't hire anybody if all you can do is make a bad hire. You're better off having nobody than somebody bad. And see, sometimes that decision is not yours. Sometimes there aren't applicants for jobs. And one of the things that we always assume is we get picked between people. No, you don't. Sometimes there isn't but one. Sometimes there's none. I was out on Central Avenue 25 years ago flagging cars down and said, hey, you want to come teach school? I was recounting that story today. That, I remember, you know who Judy Kidd is? The teacher lady that's in charge of the teacher organization. I hired her husband, Gene. And you know what question this is how, you know what question I asked Gene Kidd? This is absolutely true story. You don't wear a chicken suit or anything, do you? He came in, he had the Charlotte Checkers. This was the Checkers used to play at the Big I years ago before they went uptown. Now they're back out there. But he had on like a Checkers coat where he was a big Checkers fan. And they used to have a person at the Checkers game that acted the fool that wore a chicken suit. As long as you're not the one wearing the chicken suit, it's okay to be a big Checkers fanatic, back in those days. I had to basically set my standards as I want a quality person. I'm not going to get great pictures, I understand that, but if I can get good people, we were talking about that story today in context of work. You got to start with good people. He will qualify people and hopefully get adults. Really, hopefully get adults. You know, it's hard enough getting work out of them as a beginner who doesn't know very much, who isn't very ready. But if you've got to work on the maturity piece too, that's a loser. I'm gonna tell you, that's you're backing up. It's just not going to work out. If they're not mature or ready, pass. Just pass. Now, if you get them assigned to you, like the Teach for America, that's just your cross to bear and seeing that. You do the best you can, try to put them somewhere where they'll do the least damage as possible. Let them work in the cafeteria, do whatever you can. I mean, it's sometimes it's that bad. So, but that's what situational leadership is. Now we've moved into transformational, high task and high relationship for all, trying to find people who are willing and then make them able, getting the right people on the bus and then getting them in the right seats. All this stuff, comes from good to great. And that should say 21st century characteristics. So that's kind of the history of leadership and leadership theory and all the writing in leadership. We won't touch on the first one, but we will hit, obviously you will hit hard on Hershey and Blanchard this semester on situational leadership. All right. Here is the PowerPoint that I was talking about. It's under the 9th session. As usual, I won't bore you going through it. This is a great PowerPoint. It's on Jim Collins' It's Good to Great. It's a book. And they talk about getting the right people on the bus, talk about the hedgehog concept that I mentioned earlier. Y'all remember what they do at Jones Sausage? You know the story, Jones Sausage? We go into Raleigh on 40, we pass Raleigh, we go around the curve and head south toward Wilmington. Right there on the right is exit 303 at Garner. The name of the road is Jones Sausage Road. Well, there's a big plant there that makes sausage. What do they do at Jones Sausage? They make sausage. What do we do in the school business? We teach kids. That is our hedgehog concept that we have to be deadly focused on all the time is that we teach kids. It's not about providing jobs. It's not about, babysitting or daycare or any of those other things that other people see us and as our role. Our job that we have to maintain focus on all the time is that we teach kids. And you as a leader of the organization have to have that every day. That has to be your number one thought every day when you roll out of bed in the morning at 4:30 is we're going to teach kids today. And everything that I do is going to be in support of teaching kids today. So when I prompt you, what do they do at Jones Sausage? They make sausage. What do we do in school business? We teach kids. That's our hedgehog concept. Hedgehog concept is explained in here along with getting on the bus and getting in the right seats. And, all of those are in this. It's rather a long one, but it's a very good one. All right, so I, as usual, have made Dale's notes on Good to Great. So I have taken that entire book and all these slides and these work that people have done, and I've, of course, boiled it down to 6 points. Good to Great is about high expectations. Start with the end in mind. Tell people exactly where what you want, what it should look like. When when I said that we need tonight, that we need to write summaries and descriptors, what did I start with? I started with, this is what it's got to look like in the end. I've got a document. This is what I want it to look like. Then I gave you the notes, explicit directions of what I expect, of how to do it. Here's a step-by-step, answer these questions. Show examples, give you example, monitor, give feedback, often be positive. Recognize, that means if somebody sends you an email, recognize is not an awards program, that comes down here, reward. Recognize means if you stop me in the hallway, I should stop and speak to you. If you send me an email, I should respond. One of the biggest problems that we have in all organizations is lack of communication. And people feel isolated and left out because nobody ever tells them what's going on. Nobody ever informs them. You can't move your organization from good to great, or CMS's case, from mediocre to good to great. We got to work on good first, because we have a dearth of, I love it here, but we have a lot of problems. The biggest one is we don't communicate what we want from people, or we don't communicate with them all. We don't answer their emails. We won't answer their questions. That's the CMS way. It's everybody like, if I share this with you, then I'm giving something away. I'm losing something of my positional authority, or I'm losing some of my power if I share information with you, because the information is not, knowledge is power kind of thing. But that's always been that way. You need to break that cycle if you want to have a great school as the leader. You need to break that cycle, or you need to work in a district where you may not have to break the cycle, but you promote what's already there. But but a lot of it is that communication, that recognized piece. And then of course reward people for the work that they do. So that's kind of a quick and dirty on good to great. All right. All right. I had this scheduled for later in the semester. I want you to go to week class session 15 and download the scenario interview, the principal's in-basket activity. This is right. This is it right here. And when you open it up, it's going to look like this. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes just to read through these, and then we're going to work through them. But just kind of glance through them. Read through them quickly. Kristen, you can come up here if you need to read through these. You got it on your phone, good. Read through these right quick, and then I'm going to go over them with you. One of the things that Naya said to me earlier tonight is I don't know what emails to answer or what information to give people, but it's a learned behavior. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to work through 21 emails. I'll try to do it quickly and not take all of our time. I'll make spend more time on it later this semester. But I want us to work through these because it's a communication skill. I think, when we look in task stream at our competency folios, what's the first competency that we feel is the first and should be the most important? Communication. And and we talked about that. This is from the principal side. So is everybody set up their competency folio? Everybody's putting things in there? Competency folio set up? Do you have a computer where you can get on and do it? All right. I will quickly, watch me right quick. I'll show you how to, you know how to set up competency folio where you go to the message center and download it? All right. And I'm going to put 2 documents under intern materials that tell you where you can go and find those competencies quickly. I already sent those to you, didn't I? I did. And so I will put them under intern materials right here. I have 2 documents where you can find your competency proofs from the work you've done to fill out your folio. So let me do that right quick. Go back to the desktop. Go up. Okay. So under intern materials, field content file. So this document shows you where in your evidence artifacts, all 6 of them, you can pull out competencies, things that you have done in there that would count for a competency. And then this document shows you where in the 400 hours of internship activities that you did that you can pull out open-ended competencies. Now remember, y'all only have to put 1 set of competencies in for the first 21. Y'all don't have to do the last 2 competencies. I'll show you that in just a second too. So open-ended competencies are right here. And we'll cover these. We'll cover these in just a minute. So as a reminder, in task stream, as soon as you load task stream, as soon as mine loads again, don't tell me it timed out on me. All right. As soon as you load task stream, right here where it says my links, the messages, you click on that. And then you pick competency template as one of the lists, one of the choices you'll have from there. You click on it. And then down at the bottom of the next page, get that to go to the top. You'll have competencies. You'll see it's a live button. And once you click on that, you will now have a competency folio. But it is not yet ready to go. You see this yellow button that says copy? You click on it, and it'll ask you, are you sure? And when you do, it will now be found right here under competency folios. You'll have a red one just like that one. That's the only one you need. You don't need this one. This is for later students. This is the only one you need. And when you go to that folio, you'll start with communication and go through visionary. You don't do professional dispositions or digital learning competencies. Again, that's for later students. Well, you do the first 21 of these and you say, but Dale, all right, communication. It says I've got to put a communication competency in. It can either come from evidence artifact 1, evidence artifact 6, or open-ended. What should it be? Well, those 2 documents that I just uploaded for you. Come on now. This document right here, as you can see, I have told you what competencies you can find from each component that you did. So if you got to pull communication from the app cell, it said, all right, that would be communication is competency 1, and there's a list of them at the back side of this right here. So you know you're looking for the first one, communication. So what you will find in component 1A, that would be examples of communication, would be these 4 things right here. Email PLC permission from your principal, PLC agenda, PLC minutes, and pictures of a PLC meeting. All you have to do is go back, find that. Should be in component A. Copy of the email, write a 2-sentence explanation. This is the email I sent my principal. You upload that, you upload your explanation along with that document. Boom. You don't even have to cut it out. You can put the whole component 1A in and just write an explanation. So that's where you get these competencies to put in there. What this does is precludes a 2 or 3 hour meeting with your principal at the end of this program where we have to sit and go through all those competencies. Where we can just walk in and say, hey, we're glad to have you. It was a pleasure, and we're in and out. And it's a lot less stressful for you. But we do need a record of these competencies. Now you say, well, I would prefer something open-ended rather than something from my evidence artifacts. No problem. Right here, I have mapped those for you too. Recognize this suggested list of activities that you were to do during your 400 hours as open-ended things. I have categorized each and every one of those for you too. Addressing a large or small group of adults can be used either dialogue, inquiry, or communication. So if you have like an agenda or a program from where you did a program for adults, you pop it in there, write a couple sentences, and you're good to go. So the easy part for y'all as legacy students, you only have to do 1. The new students have to do all 3. So you can pick, you can do all evidence artifacts, you can do all open-ended, you can do a combination of those for your competency folio. If you spend more than 2 hours on your competency folio, you're probably doing it wrong. It should be stuff that you have access to that you can just pop in there quickly. Randy, you need to limit yourself. I know you. So, and right here they are, where you can find all of those. I've got them categorized for you. This is in the new handbook, by the way, for the new people. So it should be easy enough to set up your folio and do your competencies. Jason, if you're still listening, I know you finished yours because I had him in class last semester online and he's already finished his. And Lorraine's already finished hers. I worked with her last semester too. All right. I'll give you a few more minutes to read these scenarios and I'll be right back.
That's why I can't even get my pastor screen.
I think the people on the internet because internet here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time.
Can't let you log in. I can't even find the
Is
login.
it loading for you?
The home screen.
Oh, it won't work on those.
No, she has heard of it. I work on it.
Normally,
Doesn't it?
it's so.
I'm logging on.
All right. There's the login right here. Should be down the bottom.
I can try to log into Virtual on your phone and work this, and then.
All right.
Connect with the dashboard and some of the files and. It should work from there. And then, okay.
Do you know your username and password? All right, write it down, username and password. On a piece of paper so I can see if I can put it in my computer and see if I can bring it up. We'll see if it'll.
No, I have it here. I can't. I finally got it.
Did it come up? Yeah, it came up. Okay, so you got to find your username and password.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Christy, if you want to work, I've got a spare laptop.
No, it's okay.
You
It's
good?
absolutely fine. Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. I should have brought it in. I had my hands full, but I should have went back and got it.
It's absolutely fine. Yeah. Or just carry it. With it when we in the car. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as I said, the point of this exercise is, you read the directions. Dr. Brown, you got there late, so you've got 21 emails logged in your in basket. Normally, you wouldn't have 21 emails, but you could have in CMS. You might get 21 in the morning. The administrative protocol in CMS is 424. That means that you need to have responded back to somebody about a problem or issue in 4 hours, whether it's day, night, weekend, holiday, Christmas Day, doesn't matter. You get back to them within 4 hours. And the 24 is the issue needs to be resolved. Not engaged, but resolved in 24 hours. We don't let things go from one day to the next, because you get behind the chains or behind the sticks, as they call it in football, and you can never catch up. Because tomorrow, if you got 21 this morning, there'll be 21 tomorrow morning too. And you can't put them off. And part of that too is quite self-serving for CMS is, and I used to scream and yell at people that work for me. I'll take my beating on the news cycle today, but it better not be, again, in the morning I'm taking beating on the news cycle. When the morning news comes on at 4:30, we better not be the lead story in the morning too. You know, we'll take it for a day. We as an organization can take the negative press for a day. But if you're just on there, news cycle after news cycle, morning, again at noon, you're the lead story. You know, I tell you, I'm a bad person. I'm doing a lot of penance now, a lot of charity work, and community and church and things, because, you know, I used to pray for a shooting on the west side or something to get us off the news. Truly. You know, please let something happen somewhere else that knocks us off the news cycle. We can't continue being the lead negative story on the news. And one of the ways that you perpetuate that is you just let things fester and don't ever deal with stuff and just hang around. So as an administrator, you got to learn 424 and live 424. So, but the first thing that you're asked to do is, with all these 21 emails, is to figure out if it's urgent and important, not urgent but important, urgent but not important, not urgent, not important. You've got to classify all of these into one of these 4 quadrants. And then you would say what action you would take and the reason for your action. Now, this is Principals in Basket Activity is an example of the written test that most districts now give you for you to start the process to get into the assistant principal applicant pool. They will take you somewhere, they will give you a sheet like this, and they will let you work on it. They give you, it's timed, you get 90 minutes, and then, you know, then you'll get a score on how well that you did. And this can determine whether you then go to the second level of interviews, which is a group interview, or in some districts, then you go through a Gallup receiver interview to make sure you have the right personality type. But to go to the next level, you got to pass this one. Winston-Salem is doing one exactly like this, and they put you in a room, at their room, and you do it for 90 minutes. One of the things that's happening in Union County right now is when you come in for your interview, they give you a data set and you get 30 minutes with it. Then you have to answer questions from the data set and from other information that they give you. So it's very important. So now, like all of these first level interviews to get into the applicant pool, there's always a landmine question. The Gallup, there are 60 questions. There are 5 sets of 12 questions. Each of those, and I'll go over those with you later in the semester, but each one of those sections of 12 questions, there's a landmine question. An example would be, Christy Ferris, are you always on time? There you go. She avoided the landmine. If you say, well, maybe most of the time, if you equivocate in any way, you're out. You don't make the applicant pool. Why? What's the school system based on? Same answer, time. We ring the bell. We have the bus comes at the same time every day. If you're not an on-time person all the time, every day, all the time, how could you lead an organization? What was one of your complaints today? You had somebody comes in 30 minutes late. Can't work in our business. On exam day, you can't come in 30 minutes late. That's when you have to have one of those critical conversations with that employee about, continuing to be your employee. That's how you handle that. You can't work here if you can't be here on time, because the kids are here and they can't be here unsupervised. We have responsibilities. And so those are the kinds of landmine. Now, the landmine question for this particular activity is right here in front of you. which of these quadrants, if you put any of these 21 emails in, which of these quadrants, if you put it in, would be a landmine and disqualify you?
Quadrant 4. Oh, urgent and not important. Okay.
Quadrant. How can something be urgent but it's not important? Well, there is one in there for male pattern baldness or something or another. Maybe that would be urgent to me, but not, not important to anybody. But there's no such thing as something that's urgent that has to be dealt with right now, but it's not important. So they're looking for somebody who's a rational thinker right there. So that's the landmine for this one. So let's get started here. Let's look at these scenarios. All right. All right. I'm writing a request about being established PTA for the school. I was a member of the PTA that folded a couple of years ago because of the lack of leadership from the principal. What we need now is a new parent group with more responsibility and more enlightened leadership from the principal than we received in the past. As someone with an advanced degree, I'm sure you support involvement in education. I'm forward to working with you, Peggy Supermom. Is that important?
I think that's
It's not urgent, but it is important that you establish a parent group, but she may not be the one to do it. So it's not urgent. So we would send her a response back. We would send a response back that we are looking to restart our parent-teacher association, and that we will be having that at our first parent night, which is we'll start at that time. So it's important. It's not urgent that we need to send her an email. See, think urgent is not sending an email is not a sign of urgency. It's polite. You should send emails to everybody. But is this an urgent thing that I need to start today or right now on? I need to go look about it right now. So this one is not urgent, but it is important. But we would respond with an email. So when they ask you what action you would take, yeah, I will send an email that basically says that we're going to start this, but I'm not going to call you right now. We're going to start this minute today. So it is important, but it's not urgent. But your response would be to send an email in return saying, thank you for your interest. We're going to start at this time. And, basically you're going to, get started on that, but it's not something that you need to do today. All right. To Dr. Brown, the newspaper would like to do a feature on you as a new principal. I need to set up a time for interviewing you and some of your teachers and students. Please respond as soon as you receive this email and let me know of a good time to come out to visit with you. Thank you, Tom Roberts, State Educational Newspaper. All right. Is this urgent? Is it important? Yes, it's important. All right. What action would you take? Email. What would you do with email? This is a landmine question. Be careful here. I know y'all had 603.
you have to get
You forward this email to Public Information Office. What's the rule in all the school districts? What's the hierarchy? Federal law comes first, then state law, then local board policy. All local policy in North Carolina says that no administrator speaks to the media without being approved or set up by the Public Information Office. So you would forward this one to your Public Information Officer for whatever they wanted to do. You would not even respond back to the newspaper man. Now, there's a couple of things in there that are actually illegal. What are the illegal things that he's asking you to do? Can't be interviewing students without parent permission. Absolutely not. What law covers that? FERPA, FERPA. That's exactly right. You should have learned that in 603. And I'm sure you did. So he's asking you to break the law. He's asking you to, number one, break administrative policy, and number two, to break to break federal law on privacy there. So you have to be careful. And so you should know that one's just forwarded on. It's important. It's not urgent, but you got to forward it on because you do not have the authority to do that. I would also, well, you know, there's also an issue of exposing teachers, but we won't get into that one tonight. I hope things are going to be better this year than the first day of school than what they were last year. Last year, I had to begin classes without enough textbooks and some important supplies like markers and board pens. Didn't arrive until the second week of school. I know that you're new and you have a lot on your mind, but teachers think it's important that classes run smoothly on the first day of school. I hope we get off to a better beginning, Patty Quill. All right, is this important? Yes. Is it urgent? She would say yes, but now if your stuff is on campus, you need to go ahead and get it out. It would be urgent. But if stuff hasn't arrived yet, now what you need to find out immediately is the stuff actually here and we just haven't given it out, or is it not arrived yet? And part of that might be, do we give out some of this stuff? Do we give out pens and markers and those kinds of things? I mean, what is the system protocol for this stuff? So it is important. It's not, it's maybe semi-urgent or not to, but your response should be, you know, we will get the materials out to you as soon as we get them. That's what your response to her should be. And then you need to find out PDQ pretty quick. You know, is that at all possible? Is it sitting in the storage room and just didn't get around to putting it out yet, or is it not on campus? Response should be back to her is we will distribute these items as soon as we get it. That way you don't have to give her a time frame because you don't know when they're going to come. They may not be here.
So which quadrant would that fall in?
That's right, not urgent, important. It's not something that you get up and go running down the book room right now to do. But you would find out, you know, is that stuff there or not? Student discipline. Some much needed leadership to the school. The reason I'm writing you, tried calling, but your secretary said you had not reported to work, is that I would like to emphasize the importance of consistently enforcing discipline rules, especially the rules and students being on time to class with appropriate materials to work with, you know, like pencils and paper and that kind of gum chewing rule. The last 2 years things have been deteriorating, and last spring was a real mess, too much teacher inconsistency. I don't like to complain about my colleagues, but I just did. But there's something got to be done before the kids take over the school. What this school needs is a real crackdown. I have heard that you're the type that is prepared to bite the bullet, and my judge at the time has definitely arrived. Seth N. Stone. All right. Is this important?
Well, this one's important, you know.
Is this email important? Nah, not urgent either. You know, this is one of those that I'd have to resist my urges to, you know, really be ugly, the CMS urge, and write him. I would send him a short note back that we will stress discipline this year. Thank you for your input, kind of thing. I'd have to resist the notion of, oh, you would like to create a discipline committee that meets after school every day for 2 hours. I'd like to make you in charge of that. You have to resist being mean and doing stuff like that. But now that's the kind of stuff that might happen in CMS, but in a real nice, good school district, you know, where people were cared about, your response would be, no, it's not urgent, it's not important, but you send him a nice, quick note back. Thank you for your concern. We'll certainly emphasize discipline this year. You don't want to, you know, you don't want to. Obviously, this person seems maybe a little bit wound too tight, and you certainly not like to set that group off, you know, bring a gun and get the bell tower kind of thing. Don't poke the crazies. And this one may be one of those that's just a little bit, and you'd rather them not bring a handgun to school. Purpose is request your approval to conduct a study on the impact of new leadership at school site level. Study would employ ethnographic methods, essentially shadowing and interviews. Of your first 6 months on the job, I'm trying to ascertain the kind of impact a new principal have on a school. Having a doctorate yourself, you value research, I'm sure, and you can appreciate the need. All right. Urgent? Nah. Important? Nah. What are you going to do with it? You going to respond? Nah. What are you going to do with it? You're going to forward this to who? Your R&D department, your CITI IRB, because who has to approve any kind of research done in your building? You have an IRB committee, Institutional Review Board committee for your district. Remember when I made y'all do the CITI IRB? There was a reason why, because you were going to be interviewing people and working as an intern in your building, and to keep you from having to go through CMS's procedures and submit all your everything in writing to them. I just had you do the CITI IRB the same as I did with the group this past weekend that I taught, so that they won't have to go in their agencies or their school districts and go through the IRB review process. Because Mark Anderson, the principal at Crown Point, just got his, and it's been almost a year. He's doing this very kind of thing here, where he's doing interviews and he's looking at leadership style effect on schools here in CMS, and it's taken almost a year to get his approval through the IRB board. But so for students like yourselves, we can substitute that with taking the CITI, which I had y'all do. But on a request as direct as this one, for somebody to come in and do their doctoral dissertation and be on site to do that, you can't make that decision. You forward that to the IRB person in your district. Again, that speaks to which law, Chrissy? FERPA. Can't be letting people in and giving them access to information unless they have been cleared to handle that information, that we know that they understand the privacy laws and confidentiality. To principals from assistant superintendent, all principals should remind teachers at the first faculty meeting before give that all teachers will be evaluated using the new accountability instrument. School board approval last May. Also, principals should emphasize their first meeting that teachers need to be more careful in using their sick leave days, as there were apparent abuses last year. All right. That important? Yes. Is it urgent? Yep, it's pretty urgent. So what should we do on the faculty meeting agenda? We should add those two items to the faculty meeting agenda. All right, what should your response be back to the assistant superintendent? Will do. Just that simple. I'm on it. Now, what I would do, because I sometimes have issues with operations and minutiae, what I would probably do is see if I could go back and discern. I might have to call, but I know the regional superintendent keeps it, or whatever they call them now, how many absence days we had in our school last year. You know, believe it or not, when principals go to the principals meeting with their, what do they call them now? Area superintendent. You know what the first thing they cover, that they have a spreadsheet of? Attendance days for teachers. It's the very first thing. And so I would access, if I was a new principal, I'd access that for the last year. It's either on campus, but you can get it pretty quickly. I'd find out, you know, how many days our folks were missing, because that's a big deal. That's one of the, unfortunately, that's one of the first and most critical elements of principal evaluation in CMS is how many days your teachers are missing. That one's really important. It's not that way everywhere, but it is specific to this district. It is specific to this district.
So they're actually evaluating.
That's the first thing they cover in principals meeting when they break them out into the, into their area groups. That's the first thing that, now, if you remember him, you remember he was a drama queen. Robert Avosa, when he had the South, remember him, was a little short fella, young. He came with Gorman, was only here for a cup of coffee. But when, you know, he gave a vote to the South when they split them up, and I've never in my life seen such a fit pitched over something that, you know, may or may not have anything to do with your leadership or what, you know, what you inherited as a principal. But, you know, I've been a line administrator, which meant I was central office based and not area based. I went to all of them, and they all start out. That was the protocol. We all start out with reviewing teacher attendance for the last month. Big part of the principal evaluation. But most everybody went over and said, you know, looks good or looks bad, or you need to work on this or look at that. But, you know, Abosa, I mean, you'd have thought somebody had been stabbed. And the numbers in his area, as opposed to the East and the West, were just ridiculously low. But, you know, for whatever reason. But when you have people like that who got promoted past their competence really quickly and shot up the ladder because of political connections, you know, came with, you know, he's buddied here and those kinds of things, and they don't have any real substance or weight to them, they many times place an undue amount of importance on small things that can be measured really easily, that, you know, are black and white. They don't understand nuance, and they're not experienced enough to know what really is important. So they seize upon things that are black and white, that there's a number and there's a metric and you can measure it. And I kind of felt like that he was that way about a lot of things. He would just get over the top on something that could be measured or that you could make a comparison with. He didn't seem to understand that comparison is only equitable and reasonable and useful if we're comparing like subjects. He didn't seem to understand that, you know, that you couldn't compare things that were unlike and draw inferences from those inapt comparisons. That's just an aside. Yes. You would like to do what now? Hear my opinion on the school choice plan? The school choice plans look kind of like voting districts. They're kind of odd shaped, and yeah, obviously they are. Now, what I am trying to understand is, will CMS spend the money to fight the court cases that will come from those? Because you know that there's going to be court cases and they're going to lose, and it's going to go to appeal, and it's going to go to higher courses. I mean, higher courts. I mean, we've been through this before. Do you really want to spend your money that way? But we have some folks who are pretty sure that they can keep it in court long enough and spend the money that it's going to take. It looks like, but yeah, they're kind of like voting districts. They've been gerrymandered pretty heavily, not based on geographics or trying to, you know, with any theory in mind other than winners and losers kind of thing. I mean, in comparative accountability, and I've told you this before, it's all about people assignment. In growth model accountability, it's what you do with who you got. But we in CMS just can't get away from comparative accountability. We got to have losers. We've got to have winners, and we've got to have losers. And we can't just win by a little bit. We just, you know, we've got to destroy them. Now, we know that the districts that they've got drawn right now, they're going to get sued over, and they're going to lose the initial case. We understand that. The question is how far are they willing to push it? Now, that part, I mean, it seems to me that they're willing to push it pretty far, I guess. That's sad, because that money could be spent educating children, but it's going to cost a fortune. I mean, the court cases that are going to come out of this assignment round are going to be, they're going to be worse than they were in 2000.
So
out of Leandra and out of Swan.
Mm-hmm. But then Capuchon.
These are just mirror images. And I'm just,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always.
Well, you know, I've got, let's see. Let me find it for you.
So Dr. Lamb, they're like training different versions of staff for spelling.
All right, this is what I go over in 603. The most relevant court cases that we've ever had in public education, starting in the modern era, of course, was Brown, civil rights, which spawned, the court case was Brown, which spawned the Civil Rights Act, North Carolina integrated in 66. I was in school then. School consolidation, North Carolina exited capital funding, now became a local responsibility. Elementary and Secondary Act of 65, which brought about Titles 1 through 9. Swan in 71, forced busing, but unfortunately, I also, in 2001, the Capuchon lawsuit, which found that CMS was unitary, no more busing for racial or financial diversity, and if schools resegregated, the school, district, or state was not obligated to remedy. Now, so it basically stopped Swan after 30 years. So, the question that I was referring to is, the lawsuit, the finding in the courts was, is if schools normally segregate again, normally, the district nor the state is under any obligation to fix that. But it said if they just normally resegregate,
Like naturally happens.
yeah, it naturally happens. It doesn't mean you can draw lines to make it happen now, but see, the people who are interpreting the finding of this lawsuit, the CMS unitary lawsuit from 2001, what they're interpreting to mean is we can draw them any way we want to, we don't have to fix it, because the court said we didn't have to. No, the court said that if it does it on its own, you don't have to fix it. If schools resegregate on their own, you don't have to fix it. They didn't say you can resegregate them by policy or, you know, de jure. What they said is de facto, which means on its own, or, you know, in fact it happens. De jure means that you've made it happen by policy. Y'all learned the difference between de facto and de jure, I'm sure, in 603. So that's fairly clear legal argument to me is what, when you set about to draw out a new student assignment plan that pretty clearly segregates schools, that's de jure. The court didn't say you could do that. They said it happened on its own. So there will be lawsuits, they will be lost, because this one right here says that they will lose the first round. It'll go to Richmond, Circuit Court in Richmond, they'll lose there too. But the question is what happens when it gets to the Supreme Court? I don't know. Will they push it that far? Do they have the money? Are they willing to spend the money to defend this action all the way to the Supreme Court? Yeah. Now, second half of the course you had like in 603 was finance. Local boards of education in 115 districts in North Carolina are unempowered. What does that mean? Can't levy their own money. Who gives them money? County commissioners. They have to go hat in hand with their budget every year to the county commission to say, please fund this. What might the county commissioner say once the bill gets too high? You got to stop. You got to stop. You got to do a different plan. We're paying basically for your lawsuit as county commissioners, county taxpayers, and what I suspect, not that they are sterling examples, you can finish. But what I suspect is they will understand that this is a rat hole you can pour money down to forever. And what are all the citizens yelling on both sides, no matter which side of the political party, what are citizens yelling right now? Quit taxing me and taking my money. Everybody is talking about that now. It doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you're on. That's one common ground everybody has right now is we feel like we're being taxed to death. What will have to happen is more tax dollars will have to go into this, and you may even have to raise property taxes in the county to pay for a lawsuit. We're talking about big money here. So I don't know how far these people are willing to push it. They're willing to push it far until the county commissioners tell them no, we're turning off the money, is my suspicion. They'll push it until the county commissioners say we don't have any more money to give you, for frivolous things like lawsuits.
But how does CMS you gotta, I mean, I'm coming in not knowing a whole lot of stuff.
Well, Charlotte and Mecklenburg merged. Charlotte was the city system and Mecklenburg was the county system. The city system was pretty much all African American and the county system was pretty much all white. And they came together and they maintained segregated schools until Brown said they couldn't be segregated anymore. And then they fought that until finally the Civil Rights Act came out in '65 and forced integration in public schools in North Carolina in 1966. When I started school, everybody looked like me in North Carolina. And so nationally, as you can see, from 54 to 66 from 54 to 65, and then it happened in 66, we ignored and fought desegregation of schools. It wasn't like Brown, the court case happened in 54, the next day we started integrating schools. We didn't integrate in North Carolina until 66, 12 years later. And we only did it then as a result of the Civil Rights Act of 65. So we fought integration across the country. And so Charlotte Mecklenburg was forced to integrate in 66, but Julius Chambers led the lawsuit that said it's not happening. And it won't happen unless we bus children because of housing patterns. And so in the landmark case, national case from the Supreme Court of the United States of America, the Swan case in 1971 said you will bus children for integration. It is your responsibility. Did that for 30 years. Now there was some shams along the way, like we talked earlier, like West Charlotte, where you were a magnet kid, you had a white teacher and all white kids in the room with you. If you were a neighborhood kid, you didn't. And when they got a black principal, Will Crawford, he said, wait a minute. This school is as segregated as any school system or any school's ever been. We just did a school within a school. But in most cases, we did attempt to integrate. And we did that for 30 years until this lawsuit came along. The CMS Unitary was referred to at the time as Cacchione lawsuit. I think it's referred to in the literature as the CMS Unitary lawsuit, where we had people who sued the district and said, hey, the district is now desegregated, let's quit busing. And the court found with them. And the language of the ruling again is if schools resegregated, but they said it, naturally, de facto, don't have to fix it. They didn't say if you legislated that they resegregated, it didn't have to be fixed. And so that's what the folks who have designed the new pupil assignment plan, they're arguing, hey, we don't have to fix it. If it causes a segregation, we don't have to fix it. Yeah, you do. That was not what the ruling said. It said if it happened naturally. Drawing up lines to make it happen is not making it happen naturally. So that's going to be the next big deal. You're exactly right. That's going to be the next lawsuit.
So do you think that they're, you know, like up on the north end, do you think that they're gonna be, because there needs to be some changes in where some of those lines are going.
Oh, we're not saying you don't need to change the lines, but,
Yeah,
but you,
no,
but you can't just,
do you think
you
that they will
can't-
actually make some of the changes?
oh, I think they will. I mean, I drove by Monday. I had to get off the interstate on Monday at exit 25. It was stopped. And so I got off and I turned back behind Bob Evans, what's that road that comes around by the old Utica and goes over to McCauley and
Oh,
stuff like, you know, hit Stumptown over there. So I went that way. I exited off. I went that way. And I went by, what is that, Grand Oak? So I went by Grand Oak. You know, it's right there in the front door of the McCauley neighborhood. And then you keep on going, you go by Torrance Creek on the other end.
Yeah, and there is zero diversity at Grand Oak.
Oh, well, that's why I said it's right there at McCauley. So they're allowing it just to be their neighborhood school for them right there.
But if they would simply go across Statesville Road, there's Deer Hill, all of these other.
Oh, I know, but they didn't want to. They didn't do that by, you know, accidentally.
How they originate those the lines that we have now? Remember that from 2001?
No. From the last one, we do it every 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Or, you know, every time we open a new school every 2 years, we redraw the lines. Mostly it's just little small things. But see, that's what we're talking about. We opened up a school there. Grand Oak's not been open that long, and so there was no major reassignment. So they just let them be a neighborhood school for McCauley. So it's all white. But you've got Torrance Creek right down the road, and then across the interstate, you've got Huntersville Elementary. So those three have to kind of serve that population right there. But right now, you know, yeah, I think that will be addressed.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that creates quite an inequity in that, just in that
And you
little
got
crescent
Cove
there.
Up here that is so overflowing along Bailey, and they're building hundreds of new homes right there at it. And then, you know, you come on down, you've got North Neck and everything where there's still room. I mean, yeah, they're not.
They're going to have to bite the bullet. Everybody can't go to the all-white school. So, you know, Huff is, you know, when they set Huff up, they basically drew the lines, and that, you know, North Meck became a prison camp. Everybody that couldn't read and write, they put them at North Meck, and then everybody that, you know, was white and Blake Wobegon above average, they put them at Huff. I mean, that again, that wasn't by accident. That's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah, and they're pulling kids who are stone's throw from another high school.
That's what I mean.
And the whole,
Yeah.
I was looking at the lines yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's not right. And they could redo Myers Park where it didn't go so far south. It would come up into the city more. It's right there.
Well, I said in 1997, I said publicly, somebody interviewed me, I said publicly that it'd make people happy. Because I was asked about pupil assignment for Olympic that year. And I was, you know, publicly I said at that time, I could take the map and draw it out where every school would look exactly like another school and kids wouldn't be bused anywhere.
Yeah.
But we don't want that. And the district that had that, Wake County, got rid of it because they didn't like it. They wanted winners and losers. They didn't want everybody to be a winner. They wanted winners and losers. Wake County, the guiding principle in Wake County for years in pupil assignment is no school would exceed the district average for free and reduced lunch kids. It had nothing to do with race. It was about, you know, the important color, green. And so no school could exceed free and reduced lunch. So it was about 30% for the district. So every school was 70-30. Economically disadvantaged to economically advantaged, you know, the ED kids as they call them. It was 70-30, but then a group got control of the school board, hired them a new superintendent, and said, we want winners and losers. We want what Charlotte's got. We want to walk in our local school and everybody look like us. That's exactly right. And so that's why they've been in such a turmoil over the last few years. Now, the other group got back in charge on the school board, got rid of that superintendent, and they're trying to get back to that pupil assignment driven by economics, and so that there would be some equity. But it's going to be a struggle because folks don't, you know, they just want to win. We want our school to be like this. We want all of the best and brightest kids in our school. We don't care about them, but they can't see that, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. We just want this for our kids right here, right now. That's not the real world. Well, I don't care. I'm gonna pay for my kid to go to college and not be with them. And you know, you get all these arguments. I don't care about all kids. Just won't care about my kid. Well, caring about all kids is in effect caring for your child. But pupil assignment has become winners and losers. It's not about what's good or bad or indifferent or trying to provide equity or make working conditions tenable for employees. It's about winners and losers. So that's sad but true tale. All right. Dr. Brown, I'd like to have a confidential conference with you to discuss an urgent matter regarding another staff member. I have been reluctant to say anything until now. I feel it's something that you should want to know. I must have your written commitment that you will keep this all strictly confidential, including the fact that I would be the one telling you. I really don't want to be involved or implicated in any way. I'm a rumor. All right, not important, not urgent. The response should be what? What would you respond to this person, Donna?
When I first read it, first thing came out, did you know who one was black man?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can be sure they've already spread this rumor to everybody they know and told the old principal and everything else. And so,
If it was truly urgent, they wouldn't mind their name being attached.
if it was important or urgent or any of that. So, yeah, so I said, obviously, it's not important. It's not urgent. It's probably just some rumor. What would you tell? What would your response email to be to this one? You know, don't do like I do, and so tell them, grow up and get a life, move on. Don't do that. But what you should do in a case like this is tell them to contact your secretary to schedule an appointment, and make sure you tell your secretary I'm not available for at least 3 or 4 weeks. After school starts and we kind of get things going. But yes, you would want to meet but don't establish the pattern that they can cry wolf and you will give an audience immediately. You don't want to do that. Somebody that obviously is kind of like a terrorist here, trying to hijack you and your time. All right, dear Dr. Brown, I've been yes.
But when you ask for a confidential meeting, a principal doesn't always have to have someone in the conference.
No.
Why would a principal do that?
Well, if you knew that it was something to do with inappropriate behavior, especially opposite sex kind of stuff, you would want somebody in there with you. But in a case like this, obviously this one's just a rumor. There's nothing substantive. This person has not said, I want to come and report a crime to you.
I know, but I'm talking about me. I asked for a private meeting with Ms. Ray. She didn't, and I asked to meet with her. I know I asked to meet with her one time, and she said, the assistant principal. I asked to meet with her, but then she brought another assistant principal in with the meeting.
Yeah, because she wanted to make sure that she had a witness there. Because to protect yourself, because sometimes, you know, you don't know what this person's going to tell you or what they're going to say happened, or what accusation is going to be made. You usually do that when somebody would be considered a foe and not a friend. Well, but that doesn't mean that you're part of her team.
True.
Do you meet with her? Do you meet with her executive staff, the administrative team? They meet every Friday morning or every Monday morning, whichever they do. Well, there you go. So you're not part of her group. So why would you think you're a friend?
I don't want to be her friend.
But I mean, you classify people either as friends or foes. I'm not talking about a friend in a relationship sense. I'm talking about in an organizational sense. You're with me or against me. And if you're not with me, you're against me. But she doesn't know that, and she probably doesn't want to talk about it anyway.
I think that was.
She doesn't want to talk about cell phones anyway, because she doesn't want to get in. She doesn't want to get involved in that fray, because that's a political loser. Parents think kids used to be the one that thought it was an inalienable right to bring a cell phone. Now parents do. They're even more irresponsible and crazy about it than the kids are. That's one of those you don't want to touch. I mean, you know, that's a dumpster fire. You don't want to get involved in it as an administrator. And so that you would try to have involve that and get that, you know, get that manure on her. She sees that as an affront to her. You should be handling that. Don't try to stick that on me. Well, but see, we don't care if you do it right or wrong, just you do it. You own it, not me having to own it. I mean, some folks operate by the, you know, the first, you know, the number one administrative axiom is me first, then you. I look after me first, then I'll look after you. This is a dumpster fire. You're trying to get that, you know, you're trying to get it on me to deal with cell phones. Oh no. Now you certainly not my friend now. Now you've become my foe because you're trying to drag me down. You're trying to make me do my job and be responsible and held accountable. How dare you do that to me? So that you asked for a meeting about cell phones, that's, you know, you kicked her in the shin. She operates under the old power principle. She operates under the old transactional power. She doesn't motivate people to lead and lead them by example and by motivation. She works under the old power principle. She's part of that group that, you know, that's now will soon be leaving CMS, but not leaving. She'll still be nearby, but she's still part of that. There's been nobody ever punished and rewarded teachers more than Ann did, and people that were in her group and wore her little bracelets and all that business. You know, I asked one of them one time, why are you wearing that lavender bracelet? Oh, this is Ann's group. Do you have to wear that? Well, yeah, if you know, want to identify with her group. That's when she was still, what was she, whatever she was at that time. She wasn't interim superintendent, but. Her legacy. That's her legacy. That's so, yeah, to be a legacy of her time here. Mm-hmm. Have a legacy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's a legitimate question. That's why we're doing this. But you didn't think she was there for the good of the group. She's there for herself. First, me first, then you. Famous administrative axiom.
She like always draws up like,
yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. You're doing things. I mean, she feels personally attacked when you ask her to actually do her job. In transactional leadership, information only flows down. It's not supposed to flow back up. transformational leadership, with circular, we all work together, but in transactional, just power politics, I tell you what to do. You're not supposed to give me any feedback unless I ask you for it. You're certainly not to bring any of your problems to me. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not a problem solver. I'm a figurehead. I have to plan my next delivery of trees or whatever such nonsense.
Doesn't know about the trees.
Okay.
You say they're all-
But
You're right about that.
yes, that's what people do in transactional power. I reward people and punish people, and that's how I keep my position. That is how I exercise my leadership: is punishment, reward, not motivation, morale, working together, shared leadership. Those values. My leadership, transactional leadership is about what I can give you or what I can do to you. But information only flows down. There is no, you notice I don't use the word communication. There is no communication in that power structure. Communication means two ways. Information only goes one way. It goes down the chain. Never comes back up. That would be communication. We don't do that. We don't allow that to happen.
When they ask me to do this again, they ask me, and then they, for weeks, as soon as I was start, no one has said anything, because they called me in the office,
Mm-hmm.
no one said anything. And I'm waiting, so I eventually just sent an email with questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh, you put it in writing? How dare you? And you asked and expected us to answer in writing so we could be held accountable for the decision that we made? What is wrong with you? Now, in the modern world, the email is the smoking gun.
I know, that's why I remember. Because I sent an email yesterday, and then next thing, maybe not yesterday, the day before, then like 5 people were CC'd.
Mm-hmm.
But see, they have some of their administrative stuff like pulling, and they've already pulled me in when they sent that dean up to the academy, and she quit. And I wasn't even involved, but I don't know how to do this. I've never
Well,
done this.
I mean, you're in a situation where they want to be in charge, but want you to be responsible.
Yes, that is so good to say.
So that way, any of the accolades that come along or any of the successes, we can make sure we grab those for ourselves. But any of the bad stuff that comes along, we can attach it to you. But that's the role of all administrators in CMS. You understand that real quickly, that the folks at the central office are Teflon. Now again, I was one of those for a long time too, so I'm talking about myself here. Teflon, nothing ever sticks to them. Your first goal, be first, then you, in central office is make sure nothing can stick to you. Don't have any emails where you're responsible for something or said you can do X, Y, and Z. And make sure that you can, gather up any credit for anything that anybody else does. Because you don't have a constituency in the central office. You don't have a parent group or somebody out there for you. All you have is other sharks in the water with you that want what you got, or are looking for, a scapegoat or to take over your group and take your power from you. And so you become transactional in your operations. You punish and reward. You accept all credit and deny all blame, and try to make sure nothing sticks to you. That's the way that you operate. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. It can be transformation. Mark Anderson, again, the principal at Crown Point, is trying to measure whether elementary principals in the district are actually adopting these practices, these transformational practices, rather than working in the transaction, doing the punish reward stuff. He's trying to find that out now. Problem is the CMS is not going to like what he finds. We already know that. We're not going to like what he finds, but they can't really deny him the right to find them. They won't be happy if he publishes it, but that's part of it.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. I need to-
7 o'clock, time for break. Break, and we'll come back and do a short session.
Can we finish these? If we don't get them today, can we do them another day?
Well, we'll finish these tonight.
Okay.
Well, I said, we'll finish these up and then we'll be done and then you can work on whatever.